we lie to ourselves very, very often in many different ways, but the one I want to delve into today is how we lie to ourselves about how or why we are acting in a particular way, in a particular toxic way. And let me explain what I mean by that, because I know that's a little bit vague. When life is good, we tend to usually go out in our days and we're not too bothered by things. You might think that you'd be happier when things are going pretty well. And you know what? There's some truth to that, obviously. When things are going well, things are going well. When you're at the beach and you're drinking tequila, hey, that's pretty damn good. But I think there's a lie in how we respond to situations, meaning how we respond to the externals around us. And how we lie to ourselves is that we tell ourselves that I am X because this happened or that happened. I am upset because, let's say, I don't know, I got fired. I am upset. You could also turn it the other way around in a positive way. You could say, I am happy because this tequila is really good. I am happy because I am sitting here on the beach. I am happy because my relationship is going well right now. And like I said, there's truth to that. And I would try and suggest that you use the word joy as opposed to happy. I am joyful about this. I have pleasant feelings about this, about that. But the Stoics tell us over and over again that the externals, they don't really matter in terms of your flourishing. And let me give you an example of how this really shows. Have you ever had like nothing going on really at work, nothing crazy going on? Your relationship's kind of just, it is what it is. You know, you go out, maybe you see your friends. You're just kind of gliding by in life. You're on this treadmill. And there might be no reason at all for you to be upset. There's zero reason for you to be angry, for you to be irritable. Yet you find yourself a little irritable, a little angry. And hopefully that doesn't happen to you often. Hopefully when times are good, you're happy, you're pleasant, you're joyful, you have meaning, you're flourishing. But the mere fact that that can happen once, the mere fact that things can be going pretty damn well for you and you can still be upset is proof enough on how much we lie to ourselves about these things. We lie to ourselves. We tell ourselves that we are happy or upset or angry or pissed off or whatever you want to say. We are X because of Y. We define ourselves through an equation, which depends on our environment. Well, let's have a look at the little linear equations that we learned about. Y equals mx, right? Y depends on X. Well, we think in our heads that our happiness, our meaning in life depends on externals. We do it all the time. We lie to ourselves all the time. And if you think about, just say your relationship, for example, you might come home from a crappy day at work and you might be irritable and you might be cranky. And that might show to your family, to your partner, to your kids, maybe even to your dog. And you let off a little steam maybe, and maybe you say something that you probably shouldn't, because we all do that all the time. We're people, right? We all say things we shouldn't. We say things that we almost immediately regret. And then we tell ourselves and we tell our family, I'm just upset because of work. And that's a damn lie. It's a lie. It's a lie for you to feel angry. That's why you're doing it. It feels good sometimes, right? It feels good to be a little angry, a little pissed off. It feels good to be irritable. It feels good because we can kind of exercise a little bit of power, right? We can feel just a little bit like a victim. But that's a lie. Of course it's a lie. Because a lot of people come home from a bad day at work and are loving to their family. And as much as you like to think otherwise, you are not so different from any other person on planet Earth. Don't lie to yourself. Step 1. But I want to get into this a little bit on why we lie to ourselves in the first place. Like, why do we want to be pissed off sometimes? Why do we want to be upset? You think about the times that I mentioned earlier where times are really good. Things are going well. They're pleasant, but still there's something there. You just don't feel right. And I think a large part of this does get down to what we all call meaning, what we all call flourishing. I think, in fact, I know that life is very, very tough. It's very hard. We have this death looming over us all the time, right? We know. Factually, we know. This isn't something that's uncertain. This is something that's known. We know that we are going to die. That we're not going to be here forever. And you know what? If that's not enough to piss a person off, I don't know what else is. But the question there is, well, what is the appropriate response? Not what is the understandable response. What is the appropriate response? We're not going for understandable. You want to talk about understandable. There are people in the Paralympics who used to be athletes who could compete in the real Olympics. They had full abilities of their body. And some of them have an accident and they cannot compete in the proper Olympics anymore. So they go to the Paralympics. But some of those, probably most of those, I don't know the numbers on this, but probably most of those athletes that get injured, they just fall into depression. And hopefully they crawl their way back out of it after a while, but they just fall into despair. Like Lieutenant Dan on Forrest Gump. He spent, 10 years just in misery. He lost his legs, and in his head, that's, the destiny he had set out for himself was to die in the field as a hero. Forrest Gump robbed him of that, and he beat himself up over that for a long time. And people do that. And you know what? That's understandable. You and I could think about that. We could close our eyes. We could put ourselves in that person's shoes. Okay, I'm an athlete. I'm at the top of the world. I'm competing in the Olympics. And I get into a car accident and I lose both my legs. Now what? We can understand that would be extremely difficult. We can understand that, you know what? If you want to go through a depression, if you want to beat yourself up for a while, if you want to curse the gods, if you want to curse existence, if you want to drink a lot, if you want to do some drugs and numb some of that pain, you know what? We understand. It's an understandable response. But it is not the appropriate response. It is not the best response. So we're not going for understandable here. It's not good enough for Stoicism. We're going for better than understanding. We're going for optimal. We're going for eudaimonia. And eudaimonia requires something that is very hard to achieve. It's courage. It's full acceptance of what you have in front of you right now. It's full acceptance of life and of death, consequently, because there can be no life without death. So that question, well, why do we get pissed off even when times are good? Well, from the I understand perspective, of course we're going to get pissed off even when times are good. What is there not to be pissed off about? We got this very short life. It's going by rapidly quick. We know there's an end date to this thing. We see ourselves aging. We see our family aging. We see our family die. We see our friends die. We go through 3, 4, 5 dogs. Again, life is tough. And for those that are long-term listeners of this podcast, I don't sugarcoat things. I admit life is very tough sometimes. But what's not right, again, to get back to, yes, it's understandable for you to be pissed off even when times are going good, because life is short, man. There's a lot of things to get pissed off about. It's understandable. I understand. You understand. We all understand when someone gets upset at work. We all understand when someone grieves a lot when their parents die. But is it appropriate? That's the better question. It's not, is it understandable? Of course it's understandable. Is it appropriate? And the Stoics say, when times are good, when things are going your way, when life is slapping you on the ass, sometimes life gives you free samples all the bloody time. And the Stoics say, you know what, man? You can be happy about that. You can flourish. And that's great. But you know what else they say? When life gives you a sample and it's been sitting there for 2 hours and it makes you throw up 2 hours later, and when your dog has to pass away, and when you have money problems and your boss was an asshole at work, well, guess what? It doesn't matter. You can flourish. You can be happy. You can find meaning. And so I think with this thing in the back of our heads, this tension that's always there, that animalistic part of our brains that wants to survive, that wants to live forever, that really just doesn't want to die, we always have a reason to be pissed off and angry and resentful and bitter about life. We always have that. So regardless of what's happening right now, you have an excuse to be pissed off. And you know what? Again, it's understandable. But it's inappropriate. So stop lying to yourself. It's okay to be angry sometimes. And I don't mean that in a Stoic way. That's not the Stoics talking. That's me, Brandon, talking. It's okay to be angry sometimes. It's okay to be upset sometimes. This is life. It's really hard. It's inevitable. But what is the appropriate response? And the appropriate response is to accept everything that life throws at you, to not use any external as an excuse, to move forward in the face of despair, to move forward in the face of tragedy. You may be telling yourself you are happy because of X, you are upset because of Y, but that's a bloody lie. The truth is that you are happy because of you. You are upset because of you. That's it. Stoicism sometimes seems really complicated, but it's actually really simple. Whatever you're feeling right now about life, however you're seeing a situation, it's all your fault. It's all your fault, man. But with fault comes responsibility. It's also your responsibility. If you liked this video, please hit the like button and subscribe with the notifications turned on. The Strong Stoic Podcast is also available in audio wherever you listen to your podcasts. Finally, you can join Substack to gain access to transcripts, articles, and premium podcast episodes.